Hey, welcome to another episode of Dave's Imaginations. Today we're going to take a look at a revised version of the Tome of Adventure Design. I backed this thing on Kickstarter and I just got it the other day and I've been rolling through it over the weekend. I've been enjoying it, and today we're going to thumb through it. This thing is hefty. It is a tome. I think I weighed it was like 4 pounds. This thing is massive. It's chock full of tables, 400 tables I think I saw in the review. And yeah, there's no doubt. You look through it, there are many. This thing is full of page after page of tables. But let's flip over the PDF and we'll start looking at some of them. All right, stay with me. So here we are, the Tome of Adventure Design, revised, Matt Finch. I backed this on Kickstarter. I think it was $50, and I got that massive tome as well as this PDF. So let's zoom in and read this foreword. The foreword to the revised edition. The major addition to the revised edition of the Tome of Adventure Design is the inclusion of short creative prompts, which I had wanted to include in earlier versions of the book as word clouds placed here and there at intervals. For various reasons, that particular idea was abandoned along the way, but I think it adds a powerful new dimension to the tables. Tome of Adventure Design is cited as a tool for firing up the reader's creativity much more often than it's seen purely as a book of random generation tables, which is the way I was hoping it would be perceived. With over a 10-year history since its initial publication in 2009, I'd like to briefly discuss why it works this way. The fundamental tool I've tried to build into this book isn't creativity per se, it's the human trait known as apophenia. Our ability to look at a set of unrelated things and find a pattern in them. The obvious example is the way people perceive shapes and pictures in a mass of clouds. Apophenia isn't a disorder, it's just a term for the general human trait. It's not exactly the same as creativity. Creativity involves generating novel and quality ideas, where apophenia creates patterns that might be creative or that might, on the other hand, be completely wrong or useless. However, this pattern perceiving engine in our minds can be harnessed as a powerful tool for creativity. Any creative professional will tell you that the most difficult part of a project is the beginning, staring at the proverbial blank page before starting. Writing an adventure is no different, and what this book does is to provide several starting points to get the apophenia engine moving. That this is a much more succinct way of describing the Jabberwocky analogy that from later in the book. That has been quoted very often in discussion about adventure design. The apophenia engine is also the reason for including the creativity prompts, which are new to the book. While there's definitely an overload point for creativity, having lots of extraneous concepts all visible at once on the page adds an additional source of fuel for the apophenia engine, in addition to the tables themselves. I hope you enjoy the revised edition and imagine the hell out of it, per Matt Finch. Okay, so let's take a look at the table of contents. We just read that foreword. Introduction and Creative. So chapter 1, we have principles of starting and points, and we talk about the adventure design and gives a whole bunch of tables for backstory, location, opposition, variation, challenge, exploration, race against time, resource management, milestone and conclusion, and continuous options. Then talk about a couple different approaches. You have this overview approach, and then you have a purpose approach, and then you get into the different types of missions. And then he goes into the villain's plan, and he has a bunch of A through O different kinds of villain plans and tables for each of those. And then that's chapter 1. So all chapter 1 principles and starting points. Then we go on to chapter 2, monsters. And here we focus on creating monsters, monster categories. So part 1 of chapter 2 is monster types, including monster categories. So we have beasts, constructs, giants, draconic dragons, horrors, humanoids, elementals, mist creatures, oozes, fey creatures, macrobiotes, okay, planar creatures, and verminous creatures. Let's see, what else we got down here? These all seem like the travelers. I think that's part of the planar. Plant creatures, that's definitely another category. Undead, there's another category. So that is all part of part 1 of the monster chapter. Part 2 of the monster chapter is general monster traits. So here you can type what kind of attacks they would have, monster overall combat profile, and then they attack them with their head, limb, body, tail, tongue, and then any special deliveries types. And that is chapter 2, all about monsters. Chapter 3, we get into dungeon design. We look at introduction. Let's see here. Part 1, basic elements of adventure design. And this is where they guide you through the process of creating a dungeon. Motivational elements, selling the adventure, informational element, tactical situations. And that was all part of part 1, the basic elements of adventure design. And then they get into part 2, designing a dungeon adventure. And in here, what do you have? Mystery and clues, and then types of information. And in the mystery clues, let's see, concept of mystery of adventure dungeon, underlying truth, big picture, capsule backstories, original purpose, most used, recent use. And so just looking at the index here, then the types of information, you can do clues, you can get rumors, written information, general magic symbols, so a bunch of magic symbols, codes, and ciphers. And then they get into the map. Right, the map introduction, holistic dungeon generation, dungeon areas. They talk about all the different dungeon in here. You can see in here as we go through this, all these different tables, right? So different ways of connecting areas, doors, waterways, teleportation, and finding and developing dungeon areas. So all through here. It just goes on trick. So we get into tricks. Trick categories, experimental tricks, all these different types of tricks they talk about. Run the gauntlet and find the path tricks. All right. So still all these different types of substance trick, wager game tricks, written, magical condition, curses. Okay, now we move on from tricks when we get to magical conditions and curses, and then a bunch of those, and then you get the disease tables, and then they move into traps. All the different kinds of traps. So, both rigged natural features and then magical. Then you have complex traps. And then we get into dungeon dressing. What you would find in the dungeon. Miscellaneous useful tables, potion alchemy, magic items, magic spells, jewelry. And finally, we get into chapter 4. Chapter 4, let's see. Chapter 4, non-dungeon adventure design. So you have your different types of adventures, pattern of a non-adventure design, aerial adventures, castle and ruins, city and settlements. We have a city map generator, religious influence in cities and communities. Okay. Planar adventures, underwater adventure, waterborne adventure, wilderness adventures. And then in the wilderness, they have part 1 of general wilderness tables, usual trees, plants, features, animal wounds. They got so many tables in this. Caravans. All right, so that's all part of wilderness adventure. And then we slip to desert wilderness tables, and then forest wilderness tables, hills mountain wilderness tables, swamp wilderness tables. All these tables, and then finally we get into the index. So I've gone through this book. I've gone through each of the chapters. I've in the chapter 1 where they talk about your general motivations for going, or what it is the adventure and your motivation for going. I rolled through that once a bunch of times over the weekend. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The monsters got a little weird for me, but there's all these tables on how, if you want to create your own specific monster and you want to be very random in it, you can do that. But I think the intention of the book is really to spur your imaginations, not to be a specific roll this, this, and this, and there's your monster. So they had the monster. And then the dungeon design, I started doing that and I got a little lost in it. There's so much detail, right, that you can use. But it's definitely, if you want to get very specific and if you need a table for some weird aspect, a very detailed aspect, it's likely in here. So all in all, like I said, I bought this thing for $50 off of Kickstarter. It is definitely a value. You're getting your money's worth. So that would be, if you're looking to sit down and gain some inspiration on how to do this, this book will have it. I guess my only criticism is, with the breadth of tables they have, it's easy to get lost. It's perhaps a little bit difficult to just open the book and be boom, right there's where you want. It does have an index, so it helps you with that, but it can be difficult to get quickly and fast right to the table you want. I would say it's not a resource if you want to have it as you're playing a game to just flip open and get an inspiration. That's not the intention of this book, right? The intention of the book is while you're designing your adventure, you use this to figure it out. Not in game. If you did, you'd want to have it stuff already pulled out of it. So all in all, the Kickstarter is done, as I obviously got my product. Way back, they gave me the PDF. I just got the hardcover book. I did see this is in Mythmere Games. You can go to the Mythmere Games, and I'm maybe I'll put the address here. Mythmere Games, and you can get your copy of the book. I saw the PDF for sure. I don't know if the book's quite available through their website yet, but the PDF is. I did see that. So I'd say it's certainly worth the $20. $50, if you like the tactile, having the book in your hand, then yeah, right? If you want to be able to open and flip between the pages, the $50 is worth it. This is the value is there. So that's my review of the Tome of Adventure Design. Let me know, what do you think? What are your impressions? How do you design an adventure? Maybe you leave that in the country. What's your favorite resource? Leave that in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And while you're down, if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you watching the video. Until next time, take care.